Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana. What time do I stop? When do I stop? Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana. It's upstairs. Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikh Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Srila Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikh Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Gita Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Munda Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Mayapur Dham ki jai, Ranjaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari 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 Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Deva Gaunavani Prechani Nene Vishesha Shunyavadi Vasti Charshatarina.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 15, Text 47. Tam tvam vidama bhagavan paramatma tattvat. 47. Tvam vidama bhagavan param atma tattvam satvena sampratiratim rachayantam esham yatte nutapa viditair dridha bhakti yogair udgrantayo hadi vidur munayo viraga.
Tam tvam vidama bhagavan paramatma tattvam.
Tam tvam vidama bhagavan paramatma tattvam.
Satvena sampratiratim rachayantam esham.
Satvena sampratiratim rachayantam esham.
Yatte nutapa viditair dridha bhakti.
Yatte nutapa viditair dridha bhakti yogair.
Udgranthayo hridi vidur munayo viragaha.
Udgrantayo hadi vidur munayo viraga. Tam tvam vidama bhagavan paramatma tattvam. Satvena sampratiratim rachayantam esham. Yatte nutapa viditair dridha bhakti yogair. Udgrantayo hadi vidur munayo viraga. Tam tvam vidama bhagavan paramatma tattvam. Satvena sampratiratim rachayantam esham. Yatte nutapa viditair dridha bhakti yogair. Udgrantayo hadi vidur munayo viraga. Tam tvam vidama bhagavan paramatma tattvam. Satvena sampratiratim rachayantam esham. Yatte nutapa viditair dridha bhakti yogair. Udgrantayo hadi vidur munayo viraga. Tam, him. Tvam, you. Vidama, we know. Bhagavan, O Supreme Personality of Godhead. Param, the Supreme. Atma Tattvam, Absolute Truth. Satvena, by your form of pure goodness. Samprati, now. Ratim, love of God. Rachayantam, creating. Esham, of all of them. Yat, which. Te, your. Anutapa, mercy. Viritai, understood. Dhrida, unflinching. Bhakti yogai, through devotional service. Udgrantaya, without attachment, free from material bondage. Hrdi, in the heart. Viduhu, understood. Munayaha, great sages. Viragaha, not interested in material life. Translation. We know that you are the supreme person, the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, who manifests his transcendental form in the uncontaminated mode of pure goodness. This transcendental eternal form of your personality can be understood only by your mercy, through unflinching devotional service, by great sages whose hearts have been purified in the devotional way. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Absolute Truth can be understood in three features: impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here it is admitted that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the last word in understanding the Absolute Truth. Even though the four Kumaras were instructed by the great learned father Brahma, they could not actually understand the Absolute Truth. They could only understand the Supreme Absolute Truth when they personally saw the personality of God with their own eyes. In other words, if one sees or understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the other two features of the Absolute Truth, namely impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma, are also automatically understood. Therefore, the Kumaras confirm, you are the ultimate Absolute Truth. The impersonalists may argue that since the Supreme Personality of Godhead was so nicely decorated, he was therefore not the Absolute Truth. But here it is confirmed that all the variegatedness of the Absolute Platform is constituted of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. In the material world, any quality, goodness, passion, or ignorance is contaminated. Even the quality of goodness here in the material world is not free from tinges of passion and ignorance. But in the transcendental world, only pure goodness without any tinge of passion or ignorance exists. Therefore, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his variegated pastimes and paraphernalia are all pure sattva gun. Such variegatedness in pure goodness is exhibited eternally by the Lord for the satisfaction of the devotee. The devotee does not want to see the Supreme Personality of Absolute Truth in voidness or impersonalism. In one sense, absolute transcendental variegatedness is meant only for the devotees, not for others, because this distinct feature of transcendental variegatedness can be understood only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord and not by mental speculation or the ascending process. It is said that one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead when one is even slightly favored by Him. Otherwise, without His mercy, a man may speculate for thousands of years and not understand what is actually the Absolute Truth. This mercy can be perceived by the devotee when he is completely freed from contamination. It is stated, therefore, that only when all contamination is rooted out and the devotee is completely detached from material attractions can he receive this mercy of the Lord. Om Agyan Terinandasya Jnanajana Shalakam Chakshunanminitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master is Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, has opened my darkened eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto his lotus feet. Jai Shri Prabhupada. So, this Srimad Bhagavatam has been written after Srila Vyasadeva was chastised by his spiritual master, Narada Muni. After completing all the Vedas, Srila Vyasadeva, he wrote the 4 Vedas, the Puranas, Vedanta Sutra, Upanishads. Then he wrote the Mahabharata for the less intelligent, Shudras, women, like that. And he was frustrated. So at that time, Narada Muni, he could understand through his transcendental intelligence that his disciple was in distress. And he appeared and he asked him, why are you so distressed? Why are you disappointed? And then he asked him that, do you think that you can be satisfied by identifying with the body and the mind? And of course the answer is no. We can only be satisfied when we identify ourselves as the spirit soul, Satchitananda Vigraha. So in order to come to the pure realization of the soul, we have to revive our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To simply say that I am the soul, I am eternal, this is not enough. We also, as spirit souls, we want to enjoy. So, if we do not find the source of enjoyment in the spiritual sphere, then we will be pushed to enjoy in a material sphere again. Even though we might be fully cognizant of our spiritual, transcendent, eternal nature, we might be self-realized, but we might not be Krishna-realized. So, in this shloka, the 4 Kumaras, they proclaim Krishna to be the ultimate feature of the Absolute Truth. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan iti Shabdyate. Srila Vyasadeva, he proclaimed in this Srimad Bhagavatam that the Bhagavan feature is the topmost. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. And this Bhagavan feature means Krishna. Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Srimad Bhagavatam gives a minute description of Krishna's pastimes. Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's energies, all the information that we need to revive our relationship with Krishna is given in the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam. That is why Bhagavatam is not a mundane book. It's not a material book. In the material world, there's so much literature. You see, when you go in the subway, there's so many newspaper, everywhere newspaper, and people, they read the newspaper, they immediately throw it out. Because there is no enjoyment, there's no pleasure in mundane news. Same thing on your feed. You're scrolling, there's so many feeds, so many links, so many articles, and you read it once and immediately you scroll down, scrolling. There is no substance. The spirit soul is looking for spiritual substance. Krishna is that spiritual substance, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, because we cannot find, we're scrolling and we're reading and throwing newspapers and books and so on and so on. See, the Srimad Bhagavatam nobody will throw away, or Bhagavad Gita, because that is substance. Even the Holy Bible, even the Quran, people will not throw it away because it's full of absolute truth. It discusses God, the absolute truth. It is something substantial. Deep down, people know, oh, this is substantial knowledge. Srila Prabhupada, he recounts this pastime when he was living in India in the 1930s. His landlord, his friend, was renting an apartment or a room to an English gentleman. And the English gentleman was moving out, so he was moving his stuff away. And this landlord was helping him, and he saw a copy of the Bhagavad Gita on a shelf. So he took it because he thought, oh, okay, well, this is for us Hindus, probably he doesn't need it. But as soon as he touched the book, the British gentleman, he said, oh, dear Mr. Mullik, please take any other book, but this Bhagavad Gita, that is my life and soul. So Srila Prabhupada, he points out that this is the value of the Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad Gita, that people appreciate even from a different culture, because Bhagavad Gita was spoken in India and it is studied mostly in India. But nowadays, thanks to Srila Prabhupada, even the Western people are tasting the bliss of reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So any other literature, because it describes the asat, the temporary workings of the material world, the enjoyment becomes hackneyed, it becomes interrupted. So here the idea, another point is that all the decorations, his transcendental form, the transcendental form of Krishna, along with all the decorations, when you look at Krishna, he's always decorated with the garland and his peacock feather and a crown and jewels, and there's always some ornaments. So the objection may be the objection may be that how come Krishna needs to be decorated? If he's the all-attractive, right? We say Krishna, all-attractive. So all-attractive means complete. Om Purnam. He should be complete. Why he needs decoration? So what would you answer to this? Why he needs to be decorated? You're supposed to be God, and you need to decorate God. Why are you wasting your time doing deity worship and bringing flowers and so many things? He doesn't need. Sometimes people, they object. Why are you feeding God? God doesn't need your food. You think God is a loser, that he needs your offerings? Yes? You can take the mic, no? Here.
It's flashing. Okay, so he doesn't need anything. He's complete. Mm-hmm. He's self-sufficient. He's independent. But we do those things because we need them, because we have the propensity to make things beautiful and decorate, and also we have to eat. So with this process, we're given the opportunity to utilize those things which could be utilized for ourselves, which is sinful and unfulfilling. So we do them for Krishna. So instead of thinking about how can I be the most beautiful so I can be the most attractive so people will love me and think I'm God, we dovetail that and we make Krishna beautiful, and that makes us more beautiful. And similarly with the food, Krishna doesn't need food, but we need to serve him. So this is like one little thing that we can do to do some service to him, and then we get to take also Krishna prasadam and be purified.
So we're just doing Krishna is doing us a favor. by accepting our offering and decorations and so on and so on. Because we're conditioned, we need this.
Yeah.
Okay, so then after liberation, there's no need of decoration, no need of feeding Krishna, right? In the spiritual world, there's nothing.
No, that goes on in the spiritual
Why?
world. Why it goes
Yeah.
on? Why not?
Well, because Krishna is complete. Now you just explain that because we're conditioned, we need to decorate and we need to eat. But what about in the liberated stage?
No, we need to do those things because we're always doing those things in the spiritual world. Krishna just does us a favor.
Why do we need to do it in the spiritual world? Why do we need to eat in the spiritual world? We're liberated.
For pleasure.
What is that pleasure?
Enjoyment, variety.
Variety?
Yes, action. The spiritual world is active in everything that we do here. This is a shadow reflection of the spiritual world. Everything that we do here, we do in the spiritual world, but we do it purely. So here we eat because we have to, because the body is material and it will degrade if we don't. In the spiritual world, we don't need food, but there's still pleasure, there's still taste, there's still sensation, but it's pure and it's perfect. It might not be, it's, so like that.
Okay, some mysterious pleasure, spiritual pleasure. Okay, anybody else wants to take a guess? Yeah?
First of all, we take the version of the Bhagavad Gita, of the Vedic scriptures, and the Bhagavad Gita says, Satatam kirtayanta mam yatantascha dhridavrataha namashantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upashate. The great souls, they worship me eternally, nitya yukta upashate, continuously. So that means that the activity of worshipping Krishna goes on continuously, even on a liberated platform, because if something doesn't have a nitya, so no stoppage, so spiritually. So it's a spiritual activity. So that means that it's a spiritual activity, deity worship. So the spiritual doesn't mean lack of variety necessarily. Maybe that's because you have poor fund of knowledge. But if you have information from the Vedic scriptures, we know that spiritual world means variety. There's all kinds of stuff, and you can go refer to so many scriptures, and you can find information.
Okay. Anybody else wants to add? No?
Well, I would just say that the reason why we decorate God also is because people might not be attracted to God without proper understanding at first, but people might be attracted to the opulence of God. So then you add the jewels and the nice dress and so on and so on. That's the same reason why there's big temples. So people can be attracted, and then further on, because of that, because of that, then later on they develop pure attraction.
So on his own, Krishna is not attractive. He needs the opulence for the materialistic people.
Oh, he is very attractive, but for material people, yeah, it's the opulence.
To do like a bridge preaching.
Well, there's 4 types of people who are attracted. So another one is one of them is attracted because he has no money. Atati.
Okay.
He has no money, so he sees big beautiful temple, big marble, Krishna very beautiful, decorated. The Matajis are all decorated with gold. The clapping, dancing.
So these decorations are material, but they become spiritualized, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they're not different.
It's kind of like a idol worship in one sense. We worship mundane.
If it's an idol, then it's not
mundane jewels as God.
We don't worship mundane jewels. Those are decorations from God in an absolute sense. The reason this is also continued in the spiritual world because Krishna is absolute, so also his decorations are not different from him.
Okay. All right. Yes.
Yeah, it's your mundane conditioning that makes you think that we're decorating God, but actually God is the original decorated person. The jewels are spiritual. It's not like Krishna is naked and then he's like self-satisfied and these are additional. These are eternally with Krishna. There is eternal paraphernalia. Our version of jewels is coming from him.
Okay. Good.
Because where does the propensity to decorate come?
Give him the mic.
You must answer where does the propensity to decorate come from? So it must come from somewhere. So it comes from the absolute truth. So because absolute truth is a person and then automatically we can understand that also is a decorated person and is also ballet and so on, so on, so on.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Yes. Yes. The idea that there is no variety in the absolute world is a mundane speculation again, because we see in the history is reductive. For example, your parents, they have their parents, and they have their parents, and there's an increase of population, right? You can see this family tree. One grandpa, grandma, they have children, many grandchildren, and then they have grandchildren, and it's branching out. But if you go back, then logically it should come to the one, just one person. So, the impersonalists, they argue like this, that because it's reductive, it must be ultimately nothing, or just, something impersonal. They argue like this. This is where the idea of variety-less conception, that's where it's coming from. So they fail to understand that, that is in the material world. In the material world, there's relativity. I exist because my mother and father exist. And they exist because their mother and father exist. And they exist because their mother and father exist. So, relative means it depends on the existence of something else. It's very important. Son cannot be unless there's father. Husband cannot be unless there's wife. But this is material. Relative means material. In the spiritual sense, nothing is being caused by anything. Everything is simultaneously eternal, existing simultaneously. So from this point of view, the decorations of Krishna, the jewels of Krishna, and his opulence and his kingdom and so on, are not different from Krishna. It is not that he depends on the beauty. The decorations are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna without decorations is not Krishna. Just like Krishna without his energy is not Krishna. Krishna doesn't mean Krishna alone, Prabhupada says. Krishna means his form, his pastimes, his paraphernalia, his devotees, his abode. They're all Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's not that we worship only his devotees, or only his form, or only his kingdom. But at the same time, he is all of these things simultaneously. Okay, so this is why it gives us pleasure to read about Krishna and to chant about Krishna and to serve Krishna. Because Krishna is the source of unlimited varieties. Unlimited variety. Now, why, everybody is on the phone, scrolling and browsing the internet. Why? Because it is the source of so many varieties of websites and information. That's why people they're addicted. They're always checking the phone, always scrolling, always watching videos on YouTube. A similar principle. If it was just one video or two videos or two channels, then people would be, tired. They would do other things. But because it's now it's like a digital revolution. They have opened up, somehow people, they invented this internet, and they've opened up a gate of so many digital varieties. It's unlimited. Basically, it's unlimited. If you scroll your Facebook, you want to go down, there's no limit. Or this feed, right? There's no limit. It always constantly goes on. So, but there is a limit to the material. Like, for example, you see something online, see some food, you can't taste it. In the spiritual world, You can taste it by seeing, or you can hear it by seeing, or you can see it by hearing. That same principle also is applicable here for us. Avaroha Panta. We're seeing Krishna through hearing. Shastra Chakshusha. We should become Shastra Chakshushas. We should see through the pages of Shastra. These eyes are imperfect. Our mental ability is imperfect. That's why Prabhupada says here that unless one is completely freed from the contamination of material existence, he cannot perceive the mercy of Krishna. Krishna is very merciful to all his parts and parcels, but we cannot perceive it because we're contaminated. And that is why there's the imperfection of perception. We try to load it over the material world. We don't try to serve Krishna, we try to load it over. So we see everything in a perverted way. And Krishna is not material, that's why we cannot perceive Krishna. Krishna manifests all these decorations and Hare Krishna, all these decorations and the spiritual world and everything around Krishna. This is not goodness, material goodness. This is Shuddha Sattva. This is purified goodness. The mode of goodness still has traces of passion and ignorance. That is why it is not pure. If one is situated in the mode of goodness, he can fall down into passion and ignorance at any point. There are little traces. So when we come to the Shuddha Sattva, purified goodness, there is zero passion, zero ignorance. By hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and by discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, all the impurities of passion and ignorance, these lower modes, they're purified. Why? Because the Srimad Bhagavatam discusses about Krishna, who is situated in Vishuddha Sattva, in purified goodness. Just like if you put an iron rod in a fire, it becomes fiery by gradual heating. Similarly, although we might be contaminated by the lower modes, if we simply expose ourselves to the transcendental vibration, this transcendental sound, we can purify all the impurities, and then when the heart is pure, then we can perceive Krishna. We can feel Krishna. We can everything. All our transcendental senses, they become revived. They become awakened. So, yes, the devotee does not want to see the Supreme Personality of Absolute Truth in voidness or impersonalism. You see, after hearing about Krishna, about his pastimes, about his form, about his beauty, about his associates, about his adventures, a devotee does not want to see, let's say, the Brahman aspect, the impersonal aspect of Krishna. It's not attractive. This is the higher taste. He gets higher taste. The impersonalists, they are striving for Brahman. They want to deny the material variety, because that variety became a sort of a distraction. Right? So if there are many varieties on the phone and so on, you get diverted. Krishna says, Vyabhashamika buddhir. You should have a one-pointed determination. If you want to meditate, same thing. You have to have a one-pointed attention. The mind is always disturbing because he does not have the ultimate rest. It does not connect with the absolute truth. So we're being diverted by the relativities, by the material variegatedness. So, but these are not material varieties. Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's paraphernalia, all the various... It is mentioned that when one is on the advanced platform of Krishna consciousness, he should meditate on one of the associates of Krishna, according to his rasa. See, in the elevated stages of Krishna consciousness, your relationship starts to manifest. As I said before, it is not enough to know that I am spirit, so I am eternal. We must also revive our relationship with Krishna. We must know exactly what is our relationship. How are we situated? Which rasa are we situated? And then the devotee is recommended to meditate on an associate situated in the same rasa. For example, if you're situated in the Vatsalya ras, the parental relationship with Krishna, then you should meditate on the pastimes of Mother Yashoda with Krishna. You should meditate on Mother Yashoda, on her ornaments, on her dress, like that, all the minute details, all the minute spiritual varieties. And this will further reveal your rasa. But this is very elevated state. I'm not saying that you should do it now. This will be later on revealed. What is your rasa and what associate you should meditate on. So the impersonalists, they're missing this whole thing. They don't even understand that they're separate as individuals from Krishna. They have separate individuality. They don't even understand that there is service, like you said very nicely. There's activity in the spiritual world. They think, activity, I'm working so hard here for sense gratification. So in the spiritual world there must be inactivity, nothing. So unless one is guided by a pure devotee, he cannot understand. These impersonalists, Prabhupada, actually I was reading just now, Prabhupada says that this meditation is also mental speculation. This meditation. If we do not engage practically in service, just meditating, that is also mental speculation. Because unless you purify all the senses, the mind cannot come to the 100% stage of purity. The mind will always have, and that's why in the 10th canto it is mentioned that Vimuktamanina, the impersonalists, they think they're liberated, but actually they're not. Vimuktamanina means that they're liberated, but only within the mind. Just like I give you prasadam, and you never touch it, and you say, oh, I'm eating in my mind. So that will not satisfy you. You must taste through your mouth. Okay, so purified goodness. Purified goodness means zero traces of passion and ignorance. Vishuddha sattva. Vishuddha sattva or Shuddha sattva, various, this is the same thing. Purified goodness. Everything is going on in purified goodness. And so long we're not situated in purified goodness, we cannot realize Krishna fully. So even the material mode of goodness is contaminated, and we should not be complacent. And I'm following my sadhana very nicely, everything is very nice, I'm very happy. No, we should try to transcend even the material goodness, and that is done by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. The 4 Kumaras, they become devotees. Shukara Goswami, he also became a devotee by hearing about Krishna's pastimes. So we should also do that. Any questions? Yeah.
I'm wondering, since you said there's no pleasure in reading the newspaper, but people are still reading them. So what is
Not
that?
one.
Not one, yes, but I'm wondering, like, does that mean that the desire, the pleasure or perceived pleasure is coming from actually the desire to experiencing something new, something fresh, or is there something else that is driving people to just read, consume new and new and new?
Yeah, it's not new. They want Krishna. Because they can't find Krishna, they're constantly getting cheated by the material pleasures. Prahlad Maharaj, he says, it's just like chewing the chute. Chewing the chute. That's all. Like when you have a bubble gum.
Yeah.
There's this flavor in the beginning. It's very nice. But after a while, there's nothing left. So that's all we're doing. We're chewing the bubble gum, then there's no taste. I take another one. Again, I exhaust the taste. I take another one. We're never satisfied. But this Srimad Bhagavatam bubble gum has eternal flavor. You're chewing, and there's always taste. And not just that taste is increasing, unlimited, eternally. Higher and higher nectar of pleasure. The more you understand Krishna, the more pleasure you derive. And because Krishna is unlimited, that increasing of transcendental pleasure is always also eternal.
Thank you.
Next. Give her the mic.
So I know that when you're doing the service for Krishna, you should be absorbed in the service.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean like if you're like sweeping the floor and you're thinking in your mind how you can execute another service, does that mean that service is not accepted?
No. No. That doesn't matter. Services are all absolute.
Okay.
Yeah. But when you chant your rounds, you should hear the names. Don't plan out, your day. Next.
People who don't accept a bona fide spiritual master can't understand Bhagavad Gita. So why is it so widely appreciated all over the world?
Well, because, again, there's the ignorance, passion, these modes. So people are coming. Even Krishna says that there are different types of faith. According to the modes of material nature, everybody derives different taste. But to really understand Bhagavad Gita, you surrender to Krishna. And how many of them are surrendering to Krishna? They appreciate, that's okay. But real appreciation means you become a devotee and you serve Krishna.
Right.
So everybody is appreciating Krishna. Because everybody is worshipping his energy.
Right.
Everybody is into sex life. Oh, I love sex life. Well, what is sex life? Sex life is coming from Krishna also. But it is not directly Krishna. It is his energy. So the attitude must change. You must become a devotee. Prabhupada, he says that some of the commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita are done by devotees, and some of them are done by demons.
Right.
Demons, they always deprecate Krishna. They want to take advantage of Krishna's property, but they don't want to serve Krishna. So in the same way, they take advantage of Krishna's knowledge, but they don't want to serve Krishna. So that's why they don't understand. Even that knowledge is covered by Maya.
Right.
Next.
On TikTok, Pizza Haven is wondering, does Krishna control your desires?
No. No, you control your desire. Krishna does not interfere with your desire. Why would he do that? Krishna doesn't want to have robots around him. He allows you independence. But when you choose to disobey Krishna, then you become subjugated by lusty desires. And that lusty desire is sometimes overpowering you. But you can always choose to desire Krishna. That choice is always there for you. If you desire Krishna, the lusty desire cannot overpower. Next.
Neil at Bliss is wondering, can a devotee's eternal form be an item of paraphernalia of the Lord?
Yes. Yes, this is the neutral relationship. Sankyaras. That's it.
Any question? Any more questions on Facebook? No, that's it.
Thank you. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi.
Hari 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 Bol.
Hari Hari Bol. Namo Shtaparai Krishtavastai Bhutri. Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Samanidhanamani Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Viracharina Nirvishesha Shunamari Paschatri Shtari.